Hey folks, welcome back to the channel, Evil Dungeon Master channel here on YouTube. Hopefully you're doing well out there. I know I am. Thank you to all the people that watched Manual of the Planes Part 1 and encouraged me to continue along and do Part 2, which this video is for. I thank you, and we'll get into that in just a moment. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel if it's your first time here. Don't forget to comment to help out the algorithm. Everything a little bit helps to increase this channel's reach everywhere. Head to theevildm.com is my website where you see all the things I've been doing. I'm putting up articles and yada yada yada. Ask the DM at theevildm.com is my email address. You can support me, patreon.com/theevildm. Alright, that's out of the way. Let's get on to Manual of the Planes, Part 2. When you start running adventures in Manual of the Planes, the first mistake to avoid is treating them like destinations. Now, a lot of people have done that, and it's not really how it works. The planes are not places you just go visit on a vacation and take your luggage and go, yay! That's just not how it works. The planes are basically situations that you survive. The mindset shift fixes half your problems before you start. Planar adventures work best when there is a clear reason to be there and a clear limit on how long the party can stay there. Rescue missions, retrieval jobs, escorts, escapes. If the goal sounds vague, the danger will feel fake for the characters. Players need to know why they are risking their lives to go to this plane. Why should they go? Rest is never guaranteed. Some planes resist it, others punish it. Safe zones should be rare and memorable if there are any in your game. Honestly, there really is no safe zones in any of the games I play. If a player does find one and you do include it in your game, they should protect it at all costs. Losing a planar refuge hurts more than losing hit points, to be honest. Magic should feel absolutely unpredictable, but just not useless. Let spells work, but have some consequences to those spells. A successful spell might draw some type of attention. A failure might distort the area. This keeps casters engaged without turning them off when it comes to this situation. Planar NPCs matter more than monsters. Guides, wardens, exiles, traders. These characters explain the plane through action and not exposition. They also give the players something to bargain with instead of always just fighting. Most important, know when to end the adventure. Planar overstays kill the campaign. Once the objective is complete or the cost becomes too high, give the players a way out. Survival should feel like a success, not just a, hey, we did it, we can go back, yay! That is the foundation of how this works. One of the hardest parts of planar play is maintaining clarity without over-explaining things. Players should feel disoriented, but not lost when they're in the planes. You do that by keeping goals simple, even when the surroundings are strange. One objective at a time, one pressure point, one countdown, even if it's implied rather than tracked. Use landmarks instead of maps when it comes to the planes. Planes rarely benefit from tight mapping. Describe anchor points, a floating ruin, a burning horizon, a constant wind that pulls you in one direction when walking. These give players reference points and let them make decisions without needing exact measurements when it comes to these areas. Failure should change the situation, not the end game. A missed roll might attract attention somehow. A wrong turn might separate the party. A botched spell might alter the plane around them. Death is always going to be possible in the plane, but planar play shines when mistakes compound instead of immediately ending character lives. Time distortion is a powerful tool if you use it sparingly, that is. Returning days later, returning older, returning to a world that moved on without them. This gives weight to planar choices without needing bigger fights. It also reinforces that stepping outside reality has consequences back home. Now, don't make every plane hostile. Indifferences can be worse. A plane that does not acknowledge the party creates a lot of unease on the group. Nothing react, nothing cares. The quiet pressure keeps players alert in a way constant danger cannot. Treasure should be strange, but not generous. Information access, one-time protections, single-use items tied to just the plane itself. Mundane gold obviously matters less when survival is the currency in these situations, but rewards should feel useful, just not flashy. When combat does happen, and it's eventually going to happen at some point, keep it dangerous, keep it fast, and the environment should do as much work as the enemies. Positioning matters more than the damage. Retreating should always be an option, even if it costs something important to the players. Let players solve problems sideways. Negotiation, bargains, or maybe even some type of sacrifice. The planes are full of entities that do not think like mortals. If the planes are full of entities that do not think like mortals, they can think of something that is clever. Let it work in an unexpected way when they come up with it. The planes reward imagination more than optimization or, whatever you want to call it. Between planar adventures, give space to recover, debrief, research, consequences catching up to them. This pacing keeps planar play from overwhelming the campaign. It also makes the next crossover feel, heavier. Above all, remember that planar adventures are punctuation, not paragraphs. They interrupt the normal flow of the campaign on purpose. They leave marks. They should be remembered. One thing that helps planar adventures land is letting the players feel like they're watched. And I know I've stressed upon this a bunch, but it really does set the mood. Now, don't make them feel like they're hunted, not attacked, just watched. The sense that something understands where they are and why they do not belong there creates tension without rolling initiative. A glance held too long, a guide who refuses to answer certain questions, a boundary they are warned not to cross, that pressure shapes behavior really fast when it comes to these situations. Using limits instead of walls, planes rarely stop characters outright. They just basically drain them. They tax them, they test them. Air runs thin, spells strain, movement slows. The party can keep going, but every step costs more and more as they move forward. Players will decide when enough is enough, and that decision should feel earned. You should also think about reputation beyond the prime. Once characters survive a planar incursion, word does spread. Not everywhere at first, not immediately, but enough the future encounters shift a bit. Some entities become cautious, others become curious, a few become hostile now that they know that these people have traveled planes. This lets planar play echo forward without constant returns. Planar adventures are a good place to challenge assumptions about alignment and intent. Allies may be dangerous, enemies may be honest, deals may be binding in ways players do not expect. If something offers to help, it should come for a price that matters later. Again, I want to stress, don't feel obligated to explain everything when it comes to the planes and where they're at. Mystery is a part of the reward. If players leave with unanswered questions, that is an actual success in the DM book. The planes are bigger than the party, and they should feel that way, and it should stay that way. If you ever feel planar play starts to blur together, pull back a little bit. Return to the prime plane. Let the normal threats feel small again. Contrast restores impact. Without it, the planes lose their edge. Another important consideration is how you frame success. In planar adventures, success is rarely a total victory. It is mostly just escaping the planes with your lives. It is containment. It's buying time. If players walk away alive with the objective half met, they could still be a win for them. Make sure the table understands that expectation early through tone and consequences of the play. Use planar threats that do not scale neatly, hazards that ignore armor, effects that bypass hit points, conditions that cannot be solved by resting. This pushes players to think in terms of avoidance and planning instead of endurance. That shift keeps planar play from feeling like normal combat with strange scenery. You should also think about how planar exposure affects characters long term, and it's a good idea to remember that. Not mechanically, but unless you really want it to, but mostly narratively. Dreams can be changed because of the planar things. Faith deepens or maybe even cracks. Spellcasting feels just a little bit different every time you cast a spell, and it doesn't have to be a big thing. Even if nothing is written in the sheet, the experience leaves a mark. Encourage players to reflect that in roleplay. Planar adventures are also an excellent place to introduce hard choices. Save the captive or seal the breach. I don't know, take a relic or keep the exit stable. Stay longer to learn more than leave before something notices. These choices matter because the environment makes delay dangerous. Avoid turning the plains into a giant loot zone for endgame. If players start asking what they can farm, you've gone a little too far when using the plains. The plains are not resources, they are forces. Treating them that way invites disaster, which can be interesting once, but exhausting if constantly repeated over and over again. Keep exits from the plains uncertain. An escape route that works once may not work again. Maybe a portal might close early and open in another place. A guide that they used the last time maybe just vanishes suddenly. This does not mean to trap the party there, though you can if you really want to, and that's always fun. It means escape becomes an objective, not just a guarantee when it comes to the planes. Now, when you describe planar scenes, focus on one dominant sensation: heat, pressure, silence, motion. Let everything else orbit that. Overloading description kind of dulls the impact of the planars everywhere. One strong detail sticks longer than five strange ones. If you find yourself wondering whether a planar adventure belongs in your campaign, the answer is usually timing. Early campaigns build trust, mid campaigns build confidence, late campaigns test judgment. Planar play basically fits best when players already understand the game and each other. At that point, stepping beyond reality feels like a choice and not a stunt. A useful trick is to let the planes feel, let the planes feel or react to intention, not just action. I think that's probably the best bet. Characters who move cautiously draw less attention. Characters who act aggressively lighten themselves up. This does not need a rule, it's just basically a consistency. Players will learn how they behave matters as such as what they do in the planes. So behavior is better than just what exactly they do. So behave properly and maybe things will go well. You should decide early how forgiving planar magic is at their table. Not just whether it works or not, but how loudly it works or doesn't. Does it have big ripple effects? Summoning calls out across boundaries. Divination leaves lots of traces. This gives magic weight without banning it and encourages smarter spell use instead of just drop a spell every time you want to do something. Now, planar travel is a good place to enforce limits on resurrection and recovery. Death beyond the prime plane should feel different, harder to reverse, a riskier attempt. Even rumors of failure will change player behavior. You do not need to shut the door completely, you just need to make it a little heavy when it comes to opening or closing. Let planar beings have their own priorities. They are not waiting for the party by sitting in the lounge chair, just, when's the party showing up? they are not balanced for the party as well. They are busy. They have their own goals. They have their own things they want to do. They even have their own rivals, obligations, and dangers of their own that they have to worry about. When the party crosses paths with them, it should feel like an intersection, not an encounter designed directly for them. You can also use planar play to reinforce themes in your campaign: order versus chaos, faith versus doubt, control versus freedom. The planes can reflect these ideas, and they're not just geography. When the planes reinforce the campaign's core tension, it feels intentional instead of random. One mistake to avoid is escalation for its own sake. Bigger planes are not better planes. Stranger is not always stronger. The most effective planar adventures are often limited in small scope. One city, one fortress, one contested passage. Focus beats sprawl every time. If a player asks to return immediately after surviving, that is a sign you went a little too far. If they hesitate but remain curious, you hit the mark when it comes to working with planar adventures. Planar play should tempt, not invite. It should always have a mystery surrounding it. It should always feel like something that you want to go to, but every time you want to go to it, you're just like, I don't know. I would say, above all, trust silence. Moments where nothing happens, moments where the party waits, listens, watches. Those pauses sell the danger more than constant threats ever will. When you decide to open the door to the planes, do it with intent. And when you close it, let it stay closed long enough to be missed and wanted. So, what do you do when a player wants to use plane shift as a shortcut? The answer is simple. Let them try it. Then make it expensive. Not in gold, in a sense like that. In consequences. They arrive off target. They draw attention. They burn resources getting back. Planar shift is not supposed to be used as fast travel in these situations. It is desperation with coordinates. So, another thing that matters is how you pace relevations. The first planar trip should feel or should raise more questions than answers. What was that thing watching us? Why did the guy turn back at that threshold? What did that symbol mean that was floating in the air? Hook curiosity. Then let it simmer. Answers could come later after players have wondered. It's always best when you are running a game and you have a situation like this, and, for example, there go the planes, and they see that weird symbol, but you never actually answer what that weird symbol is. Now the players are curious because they keep seeing this weird symbol. They get back to the prime plane, and they start wondering what that symbol was. Maybe the symbol shows up in the prime plane as a reminder of what they saw. Maybe it's really not ever there, and it's just in their minds, and they're hallucinating because it's some of the consequences from traveling from the planes. So that's a way you can handle situations like that. So remember, when running adventures in the planes is not about showing how strange the multiverse is, it is about reminding the table that the world is bigger than the party, and that curiosity carries a risk. The Manual of the Planes gives you the structure to do that without guessing and without hand waving. You do not need to use every single rule in the book. You do not need every plane. You need intention, clear goals, clear limits, and clear consequences. When those are in place, planar play stops feeling overwhelming and starts feeling dangerous in the right way. If your players walk away cautious, changed, and a little unsure whether they want to go back, you did the right thing. If they walk away with answers, you gave away too much. The book is not about power, it is about perspective. It gives you a permission to say no, to say not yet, to say yes, but at a small cost. That is the value of the Manual of the Planes. Use it sparingly, use it deliberately, and when it comes time to step beyond the prime plane, make sure everyone at the table understands that survival is basically a reward. that's going to wrap up part 2 of the Planar Adventures, how to run them, how to survive them, how to make sure your campaign survives them too. Hopefully you've enjoyed this kind of look at the planes and how it works for a party. I know I enjoyed going through this book again and actually reading it in detail to make this part 2. Uh, it's a book, like I said, that I've used kind of here and there, and maybe not as much as I should have. It's not something we really covered on Roll for Initiative too much, other than uh, the alignment tracker that was in the at the back, I believe it was. We just kind of glanced upon because no one really was into the planes and didn't really use the planes. But I picked it up when I started part 1, and I was just like, you know what, this is going to be a great topic. Hopefully, I didn't think it was going to do as well as it did when with all the people who were watching it and commenting and wanting part 2. Here's part 2. Hopefully you've enjoyed. Don't forget to comment, like, subscribe to the channel, and you can support me, patreon.com or .com/EvilDM, or you can head right to the join button right here. Click that to support me. With that said, I'm going to head out. Keep it original, keep it old school. Good night, and God bless everybody.